Welcome to the Retention Nation podcast, the show for e-commerce brands looking to turn one-time and sometime buyers into lifetime and forever customers. Hosted by Isaac Hyman, an ex-VP of Retention and featured speaker, author, masterclass creator, and founder of HiFlyer Digital, each episode features successful brands, apps, and experts who are sharing cutting-edge, innovative, and proven email SMS retention insights that help them grow their business to the next level profitably. Our mission is to give you the retention strategies you need to unlock profitable, predictable, and scalable revenue from every customer on your list. Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of a Retention Nation podcast. I'm your host, Isaac Hyman, and I'm excited to talk to you all about your 2026 email and SMS master plan this year. We're starting 2026 off with a bunch of podcast episodes, both interviews with brands out there, as well as tips from myself and our team on how to scale your email SMS retention program in 2026. And to be honest, it all starts with a plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So that's the focus on our very first episode from 2026. As you know, this podcast episode is dedicated to helping you turn your one-time and sometime buyers into lifetime buyers every single time and half the time. And this one is going to help you go from scrambling to scaling this year. Majority of the biggest pain points that brands have are that they're constantly scrambling. They don't have necessarily a plan to take them to the next level. So this is going to be the plan you need to implement to get yourself going, all based on my own experience, what I've done as an email and SMS marketer, as a director of retention, and finally as a VP of retention, and the tips that I used to get there for the billion-dollar brands. And I'm going to distill them down for you, for your six-figure, seven-figure, eight-figure brand, to help you skip the guesswork and have a proven framework overall for your brand to get to the next level. As always, I highly recommend you don't just listen to our podcast episode, you don't just watch our YouTube videos, but always get a copy of our book. It's updated for 2026, our ultimate e-commerce email SMS playbook. It is the strategy used by the billion-dollar brands, and it is timeless. It works if you're a five-figure brand, six-figure brand, or even up to a 10-figure brand, because the strategies inside are all about building better customer relationships. And I'm going to show you exactly why that's important in a second. Let's start with the background. What got me planning out this master plan right here? So I used to scramble sending emails for years, and I burnt out my list, burnt out my team, burnt out myself. We as a team, when I was a director of retention and eventually a VP of retention, we had no plan beyond sending out emails for that week. It used to be we would send out 7 to 10 campaigns weekly as for the big brands, right? And the big brands do the same thing. They send out a lot of campaigns. Now, what we realized is that over time, 1 year, we made a lot of money. We made a good amount of revenue from all our campaigns and all our flows running. But what happened the next year was that the list burned out. Revenue tanked by $5 million. Revenue was declining month over month over month. List was done. We burned it all out. My boss got fired. I had to solve it. I was next in line to fix this, right? For the billion-dollar brands, a portfolio of multi-million, nine-figure brands. And then what happened is that I had no solution. I had to come up with something. And usually the best ideas come out of your resilience. And when you finally get thrown into the frying pan, you got to figure out a way to get out. So I was able to adapt and pivot. And the epiphany I had was that there has to be a high level strategy behind what you do for the year. And that's how you follow up with eye level tactics, not the other way around. You'd be surprised. A lot of brands focus on the tactics behind things, right? They focus on, to give an example, one of our cars is a 2017 Nissan Pathfinder, and it's a okay car, kind of gets us from A to B. But one thing we did was that when we bought it, it was working fine. And eventually over time, it needs to be maintained and oiled, and the engine needs checkups and tune-ups and things like that. But reality is sometimes when you get in the car, like my daughter and my son gets to the car and they're like, you know what, we need to fix it. We need to get a whole new car. And in order to make themselves feel better, they put in air fresheners, or they recommend to paint it, or they put in cosmetic things. But in reality is it's a slightly older car. It just sometimes needs to be repaired and fixed. And you can't replace the main problems or issues with cosmetic changes. That air freshener will last a week, and then you're back to the, originally the car just needs to be, have a deeper car wash or something like that. Right? So you have to maintain the engine first. And that's what I learned And I realized with my team, I need to fix the engine behind our email and SMS program. So I locked my team in a room for 2 days. And what we did is we came up with a forecast, a projection, and a roadmap for our email SMS retention program for that year. And we executed that goal every single day, every single week. And that goal was how we took one of the portfolio brands from $10 million to $29 million in email revenue within 1 year. It starts with the plan. You got to have a plan in place. You got to have a big picture vision, a destination that you're going to, and then the daily tactics come and layer on top of that. So that's how we went from scrambling to actually scaling and stop burning our list, stop burning out ourselves. And that's what I'm going to teach you today. I think it's going to be super helpful for your brand. Now, to be honest, you've probably been planning wrong the entire time. And it started in 2025. And if things don't change, you probably do the same thing in 2026. So, what exactly are you planning wrong? And what's causing you to not get to the next level? So, what I've identified after auditing about 300 brands over a lifetime, and I've seen exactly what they do, and also just understanding how the top 9 and 10 figure brands operate, because that's more important, right? I could audit as many brands as I want, but at the end of the day, if I'm thinking at a 6 figure or 7 figure level, that's not at the 10 figure level that the big brands are thinking about. So it's more important to have the experience of working at the big brands when you're hiring someone or or looking for someone to guide you or assist you than having a 6 figure mindset. Because if again, it's rather like my dad used to say, it's better to be the tail of a lion than the head of a fox, right? I'd rather be part of the bigger brands and help them and then bring that strategy down to the smaller guys rather than trying to be a fox and never catching up to the lions that are eating your lunch. So I've always found it's better to be at the top. And what I've found when you're at the top, brands focus on the why. They focus on a bigger picture goal. Like, what is that big picture vision we want to have for the brand, right? You have a year plan, you have a 3 year plan, 5 year plan. But most brands nowadays focus on the what and the how. Like Simon Sinek's great book, Start With Why, brands focus on sending the email or sending a campaign or doing cosmetic changes like the design or the copy, and it makes them feel good. I get it, but there's no why about where are we headed. So they're constantly thinking about what campaign is next, what design is next, what copy is next. They're not thinking big picture plan. How do I get to my 12-month goal? And that's why they're stuck, right? Most brands obsess over day-to-day tactics. They write better copies, send prettier emails. Maybe they switch to Klaviyo, change your site, just send more emails. And those tactics barely move the needle to the big annual goals. They maybe move the needle to that week or to that month max. But at the end of the day, it's not replicable, right? Because the copy doesn't convert. The pretty emails aren't getting clicks, right? You're getting 0.2% clicks. Your Klaviyo is left unused because you're just sending emails like you could do with MailChimp, or you could do with some of the smaller ESPs or some of the basic ones. It's just left unused. Your customer data is left untouched. Your flows are not maintained. And essentially, you've fixed the cosmetics. You've painted the car. You put air freshener in your car, but you haven't fixed the engine. So eventually, you can't get down the road. You put no gas in your car, right? So you scramble, and that's where the scrambling starts. And I did the same thing. I did the exact same thing when I was working at the 10 figure brands, and I had to come to this new strategy because, frankly, everything was burning down, including myself and my time and my energy. No time left for family, no time for vacation. So scrambling every week is not the way to go, but you're focusing on the cosmetic things. Time to start focusing on the engine. And when you get the engine running, you have a lot more time to do other things. So that's really important. And also on top of that, you don't want to give up on your resolution, right? Most brands peter out January, February on their annual resolution. I want to make sure you're keeping that goal, right? Because that's what you set out to do. And that starts with the engine. So, like I always say, you got to start with your big goal and work out from there. What is your why? What do you need to get to? What is your big picture, right? So, if you need to go, I need to extra $500,000 from email. Well, what do you need to do? What's the what? What's the how from there? If you need to get to $500,000 in revenue from email, I need to go take my clicks from 1 to 3%, or I need to take my conversion rate from 1.5 to 2%, or I need to grow my list from 70,000 to 100,000, and on and on and on. All the tactics, the what and the how, can be layered on top of your big picture goal, not the other way around. You know what I mean? If I started with saying, I need to get better email design, I could achieve that goal, but I may not hit my big picture goal, which is make more money from email or grow to 30% of revenue from email or get repeat customers, more often, right? I have hit the goal of design. I have not hit my big picture goal. So that's why brands are failing right now. Start with the why, start with the big goal and work out from there. My big goal as our agency is, why do we exist? Is pretty much we help brands build better customer relationships. That's our why, right? No one else has that why ever, right? That's our big picture goal. How do we do that? Right? Working outward from that why is we connect with customers on a one-to-one level. What do we do? Well, it's the most intimate and profitable way of communicating. We use email and SMS, right? And that's how we connect with customers on a higher level and build better customer relationships. That's how we do it, right? So you see, we work backwards from that and not focus on the tactic. We focus on the why. All the tactics will fall in line from there. So I'm going to kind of share with you the steps you need to take as a brand to hit your big picture goal. Obviously, by now, hopefully you've written down your goal, you know where you want to head, and we're going to get there together. But let's talk about the steps to hit that big goal. You could say $1 million from email. You could say, I want to hit $500,000 from email. You could say you want to make $10,000 from email. Whatever it is, you put that on your wall, you put that on your vision board, and you make it real. Now, how do we hit that goal? Starts with steps. There are about 4 steps we've seen success with helping brands get to that next level. And this is what the 10-figure brands are doing, right? They're mapping out the high-level strategy at the beginning of the year and eye-level tactics throughout the year. So step number 1, first thing is to understand your revenue goals, right? What is your potential of your list, right? Know the possibilities of your email, SMS, retention program. That's step number 1. We'll get deeper into this in a second. Step number 2, you want to get a strategy to achieve that projection. If you don't know where you're going, then you can't go to step number 2. But if you know where you want to get to, the next step isn't the tool, isn't the tactic, isn't that technology. It's the strategy. How are you going to get there? And I don't like when people overuse the word strategy because it doesn't really make sense. A lot of times it's a tactic. The strategy is the big picture. What are we looking to achieve with our customers? What are we looking to do with our list? How are we looking to communicate? What's the strategy behind it? The tactic, the copy, design, flows, whatever it is, comes after. So get the strategy first. That's step number 2. Step number 3, get a 12-month plan that implements that strategy successfully, right? Every month there's a goal. You want to hit that big strategy, and that's how I want to see that through, right? And again, you can't have a monthly goal without a strategy. You don't know where you're going, right? So you got to have the 12-month plan to implement it. Helps you think like a billion-dollar brand, constantly refining as you go, and take you beyond just sending emails. And finally, step number 4, execute and excel on weekly and daily tactics, right? Like Tony Robbins says, you got to have massive execution, huge execution to see it through. And that is where your team comes in. That's where your agency comes in. That's where your freelancers come in, right? To actually execute for you. You know where you want to get to. You know where you need to get to. You have a strategy in place. You then have your roadmap, your plan, and now you have your day-to-day tasks. So let's get started with how to do every single step of the way. So step number one, you got to audit your program, right? You got to know what you're working with. What are you working with? What's your email list size doing? What's your click rates doing? What's your open rates doing? What's your conversion rate doing? What's your AOV? All of these things need to be audited. And we actually created an auditing tool called the emailcalculator.ai. It's our AI-powered email calculator. It helps you uncover and recover every email dollar you're leaving on the table. And this tool has been refined by over 300 brands where we actually found the questions most brands are asking. What is the revenue potential of my list? And you plug in some numbers into emailcalculator.ai, and it spits out the projection for your email program. Obviously, the next part is, well, how do we get there, right? That's in the calculator too, but that's also what you're learning on this podcast. So emailcalculator.ai, start there, get an audit, use that calculator. You can also book a call with us. We'll do an audit for your brand a little more in depth and a little more detailed, obviously. But that's a great starting point. No friction, easy to use. It'll take you about 5 minutes to get a real good projection. That's step number one. Get your audit. Get an idea about where you are now and where you should be at. Step number 2 is a little bit more of the strategy side, right? Before in 2025, you were playing checkers, right? Now it's time to play chess. That's what the strategy delivers for you. Get a strategy to hit the projection. So to give an example, let's say the email calculator AI said you need to get an extra $300,000 in revenue, or there's $300,000 in revenue sitting on your list right now, untapped. Well, Obviously, your question is, I need that money. That belongs to me. You deserve it. You earned it. So, how are we going to get it? The way you get it is by understanding that it's not just the next campaign you send, it's not just the next flow you turn on. It's about shifting your mindset from stopping sending emails to actually building better relationships. And this is super important because when you think about the tactic side, most tactics are all about sending another campaign. Let's send 3 or 4 campaigns a week. That's how we make money. Well, to be honest, if you're sending that many campaigns and the customer is tuned out every single one of your emails, what makes you think that next email will get them to move? Most likely it's not, because you don't have a relationship with them. But if you do have a relationship with your list and you've built up enough trust and value and understood where they are now in their buying cycle, what are they predicted to do in the future, where they are right now, and what have they done in the past? When you understand that relationship, they're willing to engage with anything you send them. So the relationship has to come first. It's not about the email, it's about the relationship. And if you want proof of that, as I always say, Klaviyo jumped on our bandwagon and our mission, our movement, where they actually said back in, I think it was July, they're on a mission to build better customer relationships. I've been saying this for about 5 years already. And they're now on that mission and movement. So building better customer relationships is the secret behind it, right? Now you're probably going to ask, well, how do we do that? Well, that's where I come in, right? That's where our tactics come in. That's where our game plan and roadmap comes in. But it starts with getting the right strategy in place. Building better customer relationships outweighs any email campaign you may send tomorrow. It's all about a mindset shift. And it's not as hard as you think. It comes down to about 4 key pillars and understanding. It's all in my book, by the way. You can definitely get my book. Segmentation, personalization, automation, and multiplication. That's our 4 key steps. We'll be doing a deeper dive into this with a Klaviyo tutorial in future podcast episodes, but that's where it starts. Segmentation, personalization, automation, multiplication. Finding the right person, sending them the right message at the right time in their buying cycle, and repeating it often. That's the magic behind it. That's how you build better customer relationships. But if you want to go deeper into the benefit of this 4 pillar strategy, well, segmentation helps you save money because you're sending to the right people, not the most, not your 30-day engaged, not your 90-day engaged, not your 180-day engaged. You're sending a smarter send to the right person. And that just doesn't just mean campaigns, it also means flows. You want to send the flow to the right person, right? If I'm active on your site right now, I'm worth more to you than someone who is just opening your emails, right? If I'm have something in my cart right now, I'm more valuable to you than someone who is actually just viewing a product, right? So there's a lot more segmentation that comes into play. Second is personalization. Personalization makes you money. So segmentation saves you money. Personalization makes you money because you're personalizing your message to that customer. Remember, it's about the relationship, and the more personalized communication you send, the better you'll do. But you can't be stuck in the weeds every single day with segmentation and personalization. You got to break free. You have other things to do, right? That's automation comes in. And that pillar helps you save time, because automation helps you scale up your segmentation and personalization by sending better flows, better campaigns, better messages, dynamic content, better triggers, better timing, better cadences. So many ways to use automation to save you time once you perfect the first 2 steps. And then the last one is multiplication, where you can actually scale for a change, right? We always talk about brands wanting to scale, and how do we scale, right? That's just kind of, again, another buzzword out there. I want to scale my brand. Well, why don't you start with the foundation first? Because beautiful designs on your campaigns won't help you scale. They're just going to look good for about the 3 seconds that a customer will open that email. That's it. Multiplication helps you scale your brand for different segments, different cohorts, different channels, different types of customers, different product lines. And that's how you scale up your brand, by perfecting your segmentation and your personalization, automating it, and then scaling those automations to the next level. So again, I go deeper about this in the book. I just want to give you the strategy behind what to do. Now that you did step number 1, which is ordering your brand, and step number 2, which is getting your strategy, the next thing is to build out a roadmap. So this is how we implement the strategy every single month. Each one has a goal, right? Every single quarter has a goal. So Q1, your quarterly goal should be foundation building. You got to build a foundation of your brand. Q2, it's all about testing. we need to stress test your campaigns, flows, offers, and technology, right? Not many brands do enough testing. They just don't know what the potential of their list is. Q3 is about refining. You close the gaps, you double down on your top performers. And Q4 is about scaling. When you finally have perfected your testing, you know what works, you've filled in the gaps, you've closed any issues, and now you can actually turn the faucet on, and that's where you scale. You can just put in $100,000 in ads, or turn on or hire agencies to do content or whatever else you do. Now you're finally growing, right? Because you're fully optimized. So now that we've broken it down to quarterly goals, I'm going to start talking about what else we need to do every single month. And this will take you from runway to cruise control, right? Q1, you get your foundation built, right? You're off on the runway, taxiing to the runway. Q2, you're starting to accelerate a little bit. Q3, you're starting to lift off. Now you've kind of closed all the gaps, you've checked every boxes, and now Q4, you're scaling. It's what we call like a runway to cruise control. That's what we are. HiFlyer Digital is like a pilot, right? We help with the flywheel, HiFlyer, and that's what it looks like. Once you get the all quarterly goals down, you're going to be in an excellent place. So let's dive into Q1 2026 goals, right? On our roadmap. Foundation. You got to build a foundation for your email SMS and retention success. So month one, I always recommend try to plan out your annual campaign calendar. Take the time now to dive into your campaigns that worked last year. What worked? What could work this year? What can we replicate? You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to constantly think of new campaigns to send. There's a time for that. I would say 80% of your calendar can be pre-planned in advance. The 20% are new things, new initiatives, doubling down on ones that worked. So add in more things. Plan out your winners, add in your holidays, evergreen campaigns, and new ideas. Great example, let's say February, we have Valentine's Day, you have President's Day. Put in those holidays. You have winning campaigns you may have sent last year, like a new arrival. You have evergreen campaigns, things you could run every single month, bestsellers, picks for you. And then the rest of the calendar, if you need to fill it up, put in some new ideas, right? Oh, I want to do a text-based email, or I want to do an education email. Sure. But work on the winners first. You could plan this all out in minutes because you know what worked from last year. So plan out your entire calendar in January. Just put in placeholders right now. Month two, make sure you're using Klaviyo or your email platform as a single source of truth, that you're using it and leveraging it for all the technology you could be using it for. I just did a great blog post on how a brand told us, an 8-figure brand just told us that we grew their revenues by 180% this year, their email SMS revenues. But we didn't just do that. Because we were using Klaviyo as a source of truth and as a hub for all their marketing, which you can be doing, by the way, we were able to cut their ad spend by 80% too. Double win. Their email and SMS performed better. Their ad spend was a lot lower because we use Klaviyo much more wiser. You think about the flywheel approach, not just the channel, because email and SMS is the hub of the customer. It's the center of a customer. Why aren't you doing this now? Because you're not thinking about building better customer relationships. You're thinking about sending emails. That's it, right? So that's kind of the shift. We have the strategy, and now you're using this month two tactics to make that strategy come to life. So build smart dashboards that align everyone. Use your Klaviyo or your OmniSend as a single source of truth for your customer, and that'll fuel your entire, like all your marketing efforts, to be honest. Month three, set your retention goals. Many brands kind of think about, again, the next campaign, the next flow they need to turn on, but why don't you set your customer retention goals? I want to get my one-time to two-time buyers down from 70% of them going from 1 to 2 to 50% going to 1 to 2, right? Increase it. I want to get more people to become repeat buyers. I want to get more new subscribers to become first-time buyers, right? Set your goals because now you know what the potential is. And track those customer migrations diligently. Build a flow and journey plan for those goals. That's all in month three, right? It helps you break free from sending the next campaign and refocus on actually bigger picture goals, such as turning your one-time buyers into lifetime buyers. Major goal. Now that you have the foundation out, let's go now to Q2. What do you need to do now, right? Now in Q1, you have your campaign plan. You know what your technology can do. You have your reporting. You're using Klaviyo at its fullest potential, right? Now we're focused on testing and learning. Now we know what we want to achieve, and so we have to test and learn to get there. So month 4, implement a testing roadmap. create an email and SMS A/B testing game plan where you map out the best tests, your copy tests, your creative tests, your send timing tests, segmentation tests, personalization tests. Oh my God, there's so many tests out there, but commit to it. Build and commit to a testing plan. And it's a real test with smart goals, right? You don't just kind of have feelings behind it. I work with a brand that has a lot of feelings about their emails. And reality is, if you come back to them and say, well, here's the data, here's what 200,000 subscribers on your list are telling us, right? Sometimes we have to give up our feelings. Sometimes we have to admit, like, you know what? My feeling is not making me money, right? Money doesn't care about your feelings, as they say, right? Well, they say other things, but right? Money doesn't care about your feelings. The test will prove it. You have opinions, I have opinions. Data is the tiebreaker. So build and commit to a testing plan. If you need a testing plan, you can, go to highflyerdigital.com and we have a whole bunch of testing ideas for you. Here's a great example. Here's a great example of a test we ran where we had one idea of a creative we used to send to 617,000 emails for a client, and it made $109,000. With a testing plan in place, and creating different creatives and linking strategy and designs, we were able to send to half that list and actually generate 180,000 more, right? $180,000 generated from that campaign. That's a sample of having a better testing mindset and having a plan in place, right? So they were converted. And from here on in, we ran out our design plan and not the way they used to do it. So that was a really good win for them. Month 5, upgrade your automations, upgrade your flows. Again, why are we saying in month 5? Because you've audited things in month 1, right? You know where you're at. And now you start using the data you have and start implementing it. Now, what do we do for brands? We do this pretty quickly, right? When they first come on board with us, we audit their flows immediately because we know there's low-hanging fruit. So we do that right there. But if you're doing this yourself or flying solo or have a team in place and need a plan, start with month 5, upgrading your flows. Small incremental wins mean huge money, right? And you want to go way beyond the out-of-the-box flows. Optimize the 80-20 of your flows. You don't need to dive into 100 flows. Focus on the 5 to 10 that are actually making you money. Optimize them. You'll do better than optimizing your flow making $100 a month. That doesn't make sense. Might as well just turn it off. And use your data from Q1 to focus your plan. That's what you need to do. Level up your flows and your follow-up because the money is in the follow-up. Here's a basic abandoned funnel, right? That most people will hear from Klaviyo or OmniSend. Basic, very basic. Put in your cart abandon, your browse abandon. That's it, right? Our $1 billion abandoned funnel levels it up to a whole nother level where we close gaps, we identify where the leaks are, and we do the money's in the follow-up. So we want to make sure our flows are following up with every single abandoner. On top of that, you can also upgrade your flows by adding in more channels. That's where the multiplication phase comes in, where you have your email flow typically, right? Maybe an SMS flow, but by leveling up your flows to a more omni-channel or multi-channel approach, you can actually use it with mailings, or you can send it to your customer service to call, or ads, and give email SMS first pass, ads second pass. So different ways to level up your flows beyond just sending another email. Because again, it's about building better customer relationships, not sending emails. Month 6, focus, similar to flows, focus on your product triggers, right? The goal is to add product triggers to enhance your flow plan. We want to be customer centric as much as possible, but the product flows, the replenishment, and the back in stock and out of stock are all good to add. So add those in. Focus on product triggers you can add, and that's where customer centrism meets product centrism. And that's a great combo right there. But as long as you're putting the customer first, you'll do a lot better. Now that you hammered out these 2 quarters, right? Q1 was the foundation, Q2 was testing, and now we're in Q3, right? Now is where we refine and invest. Now is where you find your winners and double down on what works and sunset what doesn't. So what does that mean, right? Well, by the time you've tested your emails and your SMS and your retention, and you know what's working or what's not working, this is where you can invest in the tools and techs and apps, tools, tech, and apps that are actually going to plug the gaps, right? You want to find apps that are additive. Why are you doing this now? Because if you wait to Q4, you're toast. And if you just add in apps and technology before you have the data about what works or not, it's waste, right? You're just going to be adding in new shiny object syndrome. So you want to make sure you have the data to back it up. A great example is we have a brand who has shiny new object syndrome, and they're always adding in new technologies. And it took us time to test it and say, you know what? After 90 days of running this app, it's not incremental in any way. You probably should never have added it because we never ran tests on it. So now they learn their lesson. They go to us and we test it out on email first. And then we say, you know what? Yeah, we could add something here. So find additive tech and apps and avoid the shiny new object syndrome. And most importantly, probably the biggest one, actually adopt the tech you're bringing on. Only about 10% of your technology is ever used. You want to make sure that you're using it to its full potential. I would say 90% of brands use maybe 10% of Klaviyo. It's so powerful, but if you don't know how to use it, it's just, again, you're putting an air freshener on your car instead of fixing the engine. So make sure you're using your technology. Month 8 is when you can actually utilize AI and predictive. Again, it's all about incrementality, where you're refining and adding in more. And that allows you to have more advanced segmentation and more advanced personalization, which will help you layer up, which will help you level up your existing segmentation and your existing personalization. If you don't have that existing, there's nothing to level up onto, right? You don't even know what's working. But you can enhance the customer experience. There's predictive and machine learning, and all that is incremental, right? Sometimes when you have a segment, you're building out a segment, you know, like, oh, these people clicked an email in the past, or they bought in the past, or they opened in the past. And also you have your present segmentation, such as like, what are they viewing on our store right now? What are they shopping? Predictive allows you to layer in future, right? What will they be doing? Will they have a propensity to buy in the future? And that is the really important layer here, but you can't do the future until you fix the past and present, right? You got to have that segmentation going. So that's where AI and predictive comes in, month 8. Month 9, now that we've closed in a lot of the gaps and we're still in the refine and invest stage of our planning, this is where we start saying, okay, we need to make sure our list is ready for the holidays. List growth and hygiene is set. We want to start growing and improving our list. We want to build journeys, not just flows, right? We want to go from funnel to flywheel. We want to create a feedback loop between Klaviyo and our ads, right? And we want to know, connect the two and make sure that we're all communicating and ad spend is being done wisely and our customers are not being bombarded and we're enhancing our retention and decreasing our churn. So month 9 is where that list growth and hygiene comes in to grow the list, get it ready for the holiday season, right? Figure if you start this plan now in January, this is month 9, September, right? Right before the holiday season. So you want to get yourself in a mindset and preparation to scale. So list growth and hygiene on month 9, lots of ways to do that, but go from funnel to flywheel. Think not just like an email marketer, think as a retention marketer, right? Now that you did all 3 quarters in our 12-month roadmap, right? Q1 foundation, Q2 is testing, Q3 refine and invest. Now it's finally Q4 where you scale and succeed. And we've already identified the best offers. We have the best list. We know what we're planning for the year because we did that in Q1, right? We know exactly what works. And now it's time to scale it up. Turn on the faucet. You put your best performers to work. That's the goal. Month 10, holiday planning. And you want to focus on not just winning Black Friday, you want to focus on winning Q4 because the more sales you can win in Q4 in October and early November, the less you have to worry about Black Friday, right? Black Friday is the cherry on top of a great Q4, right? And there are 3 strategies we have, which again, not going to go too deep into that, but you want to re-engage your list. You want to make sure that you're driving revenue in November, and you want to get repeat buyers in the holiday season where they're going to buy twice. And that's how you start scaling. So when you focus on the quarter, that will do a lot better than just focusing on Black Friday. Again, whole separate webinar on that. Month 11, we just kind of got out of that. We're in January now, but month 11, Black Friday, right? Black Friday War Room. Make Black Friday the cherry on top of a great Q4. Watch your list come to life because you've done all the optimizations in the months prior. You have the foundation set. You know what offers work. You've closed the gaps with extra technologies. Now your list comes to life. And this is where the real momentum happens. And it also allows you to move the holiday season up. So you don't just have to wait till Black Friday. You're winning it in October, right? Which is when Prime Day is and Way Day or any other, your biggest retailers are doing too. So focus on that as well. And then month 12, you're doing the same thing you're doing right now, which is planning out your 2027. Where should you be? Where do you need to be? How are you going to get to the next level? Set your goals for 2027. Do a post-mortem with everyone on the team. I've jumped on calls with the ads team for our clients and with our CRO teams for clients to understand where can we all go. A rising tide lifts all ships. So we need to know how can we all help each other. and state of the business, data-driven decisions. You want to have that all as part of your 2027 planning. That's your 12-month roadmap. Okay, that's how you plan out the strategy and implement it every single month to the point where you're scaling in Q4, right? Again, like that plane taking off, foundation first, right? Taxi the runway, get the building up, do your checklist on your plane. You want to get taxi to the runway in Q2, get momentum moving. Q3, you're starting to take off, speed up, and finally you're accelerating, and that's it. So now you've planned out the 12-month plan. What do you do every single day and week, right? So what are the daily actions you need to take? This is where a lot of brands focus on, but reality is they should focus on this last, which is what I'm telling you. So number one, you're paying Klaviyo for Ferrari features, but using it like a Toyota. Start using your Klaviyo correctly. You're only using 10% of it. Start using 90% of it. You're only using Shopify, 50% of it. Start using 85% of it. Start using your technology in the right way. Step two, understand if your tech is ready for the roadmap, right? You want to audit it. Are you using it correctly? Are you using too much tech? Are you on the right technology, right? If you're on MailChimp and you need to be on Klaviyo, start moving over there. If you're on Klaviyo and you need to go to ListTrack or Sailthrough, start moving over there, right? Do you have all the data you need to implement this strategy? This is what you do on a day-to-day level, kind of checking things, right? And is, again, your tech prepared for the roadmap? Can you implement this strategy is the next question you should be asking. From a day-to-day level, is your team set up for this? Can your emails be personalized? Do you have the designer that can actually implement these strategies within our email program? Can we go from sending emails to building better customer relationships? Are you focused on the 80-20 segments? Are you bringing Klaviyo costs down? Do you have a roadmap? All that is the questions you should be asking now. Can you implement the strategy? What levers can you pull to hit your goal, right? Are we making sure that we're hitting the right goals? Are we increasing our click rate, which means we need better designers? Are we increasing our conversion rate, which means we need a better linking strategy? Can we grow our list? Shrinking churn? You got to ask all these questions now, right? On the day-to-day level, are we consistently moving day to day to those goals? And of course, do you have the right team to execute? Are they just sending emails all day? Are they using your ESP to the full potential? Are they reactive or proactive? And can we be doing more right now? Big questions to ask from the day-to-day execution point of view. And what happens when you use this roadmap? We'll have a lot of case studies on it. I'll give a couple, right? This brand, 10-figure brand, electronics retailer, went from $10 million in Q4 to $29 million in the next Q4 by implementing this quarterly, monthly roadmap and getting the right strategy in place. They unlocked $19 million in 1 year with this strategy. An 8-figure brand was bleeding revenue, $35,000 a month, went to $200,000 a month with this strategy. They added more channels. They were connecting with their customers better. And they actually started seeing a massive momentum and massive shift in the percentage of revenue that was coming from their email program because they had the strategy. They used to be sending campaigns after campaigns and design after design, but they got a better strategy and a roadmap in place, and that helped them get to the next level. So let's do some episode takeaways from this episode. I know there's a lot to dive into. Number one, start with the end in mind. Reestablish your why and where you need to be at the end of the year. Focus on the why. The tactics will come second. Focus on the high-level strategy, high-level tactics after that. Number two, get the facts and the strategy. Don't fix the paint. Don't fix the air freshener. Fix the engine. Everything follows from there. And finally, the last step is put your plan to action. Quarterly goals, monthly milestones, and weekly and daily tactics will help you hit your goals. Thank you so much for joining me on this Retention Nation podcast episode. I really hope you learned a lot on how to plan out your 2026 email SMS master plan. I'm super excited to spend the year diving into interviews and case studies and ways to actually improve your email SMS retention program and take it to the next level, right? We're thinking at a $1 billion level, $1 billion mindset. I want to take your 6, 7, or 8-figure brand to that mindset and to that goal. And the only way to do it is by having an expert to help you get there. Thank you for joining me. I will see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Retention Nation podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe and join our Retention Nation Facebook group. If you want to put this week's retention strategy into action within minutes, all done for you by our expert email, SMS, and retention team, you can go to HiFlyerDigital.com/book for a free 15-minute chat with myself and my team. It's time to turn those one-time and sometime buyers on your list into lifetime buyers and unlock the revenue you deserve. Your brand is worth it, and your customers will thank you for it. Until next week, I'm Isaac Hyman, wishing you a successful and profitable week.